on ESPN.com. You can check out our friend Kevin Pelton's piece. He covers all 30 teams in the NBA, their biggest roster holes that need to be fixed, that need to be addressed going into this upcoming season. Let's just run through a few of them with a little coast to coast here. And we're going to start our trip with the Los Angeles Lakers. Why not? We're here in LA. Let's do it. All right. The centerpieces, of course, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, fresh off that Euro run, and Austin Reeves here. Now, defensively, Kevin Pelton thinks the perimeter could be a problem. So, Brian Windhorst, is Luka going to solve some of those issues? What do they need to do here?
Yeah, I wouldn't count on Luka for it night in and night out. You know, they also lost Dorian Finney-Smith. So they tried to address this by going out and signing Jake LaRavia and Marcus Smart. Now, I know Marcus Smart's going to be the headliner there because he's a former Defensive Player of the Year. But I think the Lakers feel like Jake LaRavia is an underrated defensive player. He can guard point guards all the way down to even some power forwards. So they're going to be relying on him this year.
Next up is the Grizzlies, because Pelton pegs wing size as their biggest need. I thought this was interesting with injuries to Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey. A lot of the season, though, regardless of who you're looking at, going to fall on Ja Morant. Now, Morant recently said on TikTok that he's ready to go full 2021-22 mode. They were pretty good that year, Perk. What does Memphis need from Ja this season?
To put up or shut up, and it's definitely Ja Morant. He's right. In 2021, 2022, he averaged 27 points a game, and then after that, he's fell off since no limit. If they want to contend and be a threat in the Western Conference, Ja Morant needs to play MVP-type basketball, 27 to 30 points a game.
And the West is tight this year. And then we have Philly. That's where Pelton identifies the power forward spot as the biggest hole in their depth chart. But Ramona, is that your biggest concern when it comes to the Sixers?
Look, I saw those videos of Joel Embiid playing basketball, which is a good sign, but we are still waiting to see how available he's going to be. Is he available like he's back and playing every day? Is he available like he's back and needs some time off in between games? That, to me, is the biggest question, because we already know Paul George is going to be delayed in starting the training camp.
Well, there is really a lot of opportunity in the Eastern Conference if they are able to be healthy, but of course it is the biggest if every year for the Philadelphia 76ers. It's something that the Knicks are hoping that they can take advantage of, though. The Knicks' biggest need, it was more depth, and this morning New York addressed it, at least in part, signing Malcolm Brogdon here to a one-year deal, a little flyer. The former Sixth Man of the Year averaged only 12.7 points, just over 4 assists, 3.8 rebounds in a career-low 24 games last season for the Wizards here. But it could help a little bit here for the New York Knicks. Wendy, does this Brogdon signing, what does it tell you about what New York is trying to do here?
Well, I am told that the Knicks were on Malcolm Brogdon for over 2 months, that this was a guy they really wanted to sign this summer. But Brogdon wanted to see if he could get some better offers first. He didn't. Now, this is a non-guaranteed deal. And I want to point out the Knicks signed 3 players this week. They signed Landry Shamet and Garrison Matthews. And from what I understand, the Knicks are going to have basically a competition to see which of those 3 guys can make the team. One of them is definitely going to make it. Maybe they can do 2 if they make another move. But it's going to be a training camp competition. And all 3 of these guys have been in NBA rotations in the recent past. So the Knicks definitely feel like they've upgraded their bench.
Ramona, how do you view this?
Look, they needed to upgrade their bench. Their starters led the league in minutes last year. We've heard Mikal Bridges complain about that. We've heard other players on the team kind of grouse behind the scenes on this. But it just remains, no team whose starters have led the league in minutes has made the NBA Finals since 1987.
Right.
I mean, they had to address their depth. They have to play differently. And presumably, that'll fall on Mike Brown to play differently. But also, it's on the roster.
And that's part of the reason they brought Mike Brown in, so that they can use this roster a little bit differently. When it's all said and done, Perk, I feel like we spent a lot of time this offseason talking about the crowded Western Conference, and rightfully so. But in the East, when it really is looking like the New York Knicks are head and shoulders, maybe along with a couple of other teams like the Cavaliers, above everybody else, how do you feel about them heading into this season?
They are. To me, they're the best team in the Eastern Conference, right? We know that the Celtics, they are somewhat in the rebuild mode. Okay, the Cavs, I don't trust them. I trust Big Body Bronson as the leader of that ball club, and they addressed the issues that they needed to address. You go and you get some bench players that's going to come in and play their role while still keeping your entire core together. We know OG Anunoby. We know what he's going to bring to the table for us being that 3-and-D guy. At times, he looked like Scottie Pippen. Josh Hart, he's going to come back on the mission. Obviously, they just re-signed Mikal Bridges, and I'm looking forward to see what Karl Anthony Towns look like under a new voice of their locker room in Mike Brown. I think we're going to see the best version of him. If you ask me, I'm all in on the Knicks for us in the Eastern Conference. No slight to nobody else. I just feel like they checked all the boxes, and they're the best team in the Eastern Conference right now on paper.
I don't disagree with you in terms of being one of the best teams and checking all of the boxes. I do think it's alongside the Cleveland Cavaliers. And, Brian, I was talking to Evan Mobley the other day, ran into him in a WNBA game, and I just said to him, there is a level of maybe it's daunting when there is so much expectation and also so much opportunity when a conference is wide open in front of you to be able to be the team that runs through and seizes that. Can the Knicks do that this year?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to look around at their opportunity. Jason Tatum is going to likely miss most, if not all, the season. Tyrese Halliburton, the same. The Cavs are dealing with several players coming off surgeries. There have been a lot of years, Malika, where the Knicks had disadvantages that they couldn't control. Now they've got the breaks breaking their way. Their team has been put together. They're built out. They are in the best position we've seen the Knicks to win the East in a generation. They have got to take advantage of this season.
I do not disagree with you on that one, my friend. Hey, as the 50-plus players, they're going to be donning new threads this upcoming season. Headlined, of course, you know his name. It's Kevin Durant. He's moving to Houston in that move that really could shake up the entire Western Conference. But that doesn't mean there aren't more deals that could be coming down the pipeline. Remember, Russell Westbrook, Al Horford, we're still watching them along with Jonathan Kuminga, Quentin Grimes, just a few notable names that have yet to put pen to paper on that new contract. Now, the domino that may actually be holding up the final stage of all of these moves, it may be restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga. So let's bring in our NBA reporter, Anthony Slater, who is going to be covering all things Golden State Warriors for us. Can you just set the stage here, Anthony? Where do things stand between Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors? I feel like I've been asking this question for the last couple of months.
Yeah, it has overtaken my last few months also. There's been renewed efforts, genuine efforts this week to try to get it over the finish line. I think the Josh Giddey contract, 4 years, $100 million, provided a little bit of extra motivation for the talks. But, you know, Josh, I don't think there's a misalignment between the Warriors and Kuminga side that Giddey's per year, which is around $25 million, is somewhat near what Kuminga should be. I mean, me and Shams have reported the standing 1-and-1 offer for $45 million that starts at 21.7. But the big difference between the two situations is Giddey signed 4 years, no team options either way. He's signing on to the Bulls to be their starting point guard of the future. That's what the Bulls want. We know the Kuminga situation doesn't have nearly the structure or relationship, backbone where the Warriors are trying to, get him on this very team-friendly deal. And Kuminga's clearly knowing he's not like Josh Giddey walking into a, guaranteed starting job. So that is what continues month after month now to halt this thing up. And, I think the public is looking at the Warriors going, hey, you still have 9 players on the roster, so the veterans must be freaking out behind the scenes. They're not. They've had communication with Mike Dunleavy. They know what the roster is going to look like. They know the dominoes that are going to fall. They're not in the dark about that. But I think they're wondering about Jonathan Kuminga's buy-in if he comes back on the qualifying offer. And their curiosity is, can this thing get done where Jonathan Kuminga can come back and be a part of this team?